Continuing our talk with the Minister of Health, David Anderson, we got up to this letter. It didn't get in the public domain in February, did it, though? I mean, you say you got a copy of it, but you're not sure where it came from. Other members, you say, also got a copy of the letter?
This wasn't in February. This was fairly recently. This.
So back in February, it was very much private to who? Do you know who it went to initially?
I don't know who the circulation list was.
You don't know initially who got it?
No, I don't know, because it didn't say to who it was sent.
Well, when did you get flagged up? No one in your management flagged it to you at that time? You waited until you got a copy sent to you?
This letter wasn't sent to management. It was the initial letter from a group of consultants that was sent to the management, which were dealing with those issues.
I'm talking about the anonymous letter.
Okay.
It went to who exactly, you don't know initially, and then someone sent it to you, but you don't know who that was either. And it went to other MHKs, but no one knows who sent what to when.
You don't do that with anonymous letters. You don't know who sends them to you.
Right. But I'm trying to get the point of this. Did your management send that letter on to you, or did you get it from another party?
My management didn't receive that anonymous letter.
So who did get it?
Tynwald members.
And that's the first in the line of who got it. Tynwald members, including yourself then?
There was a letter very similar that was circulated earlier than that, but it was recirculated, shall we say, to Tynwald members fairly recently.
Now, when you got that letter then, what did you do?
Well, as you well know, I set up a working group to look at the Francis report, which was making several recommendations, scores of recommendations about NHS Trust Mid-Staffordshire in the UK. And
was this, again, can you give me a sort of timing on this? Is this going parallel to that letter? Was it started before the letter, this anonymous letter?
This has started before the letter, and I quoted in Keys that we're setting up this working group with independent people from outside the health service that would look into those recommendations to see if any of those recommendations were applicable to Nobles Hospital and see if we could learn lessons from the Francis report, as every UK trust is doing the same thing. So I set up this independent committee, which also has obviously clinicians from Nobles involved in it, who will go through chapter and verse through those many recommendations to see if they're applicable to the island and if we should apply them in the health service here.
So you get an anonymous letter and you presumably get...
So can I build on that? So the anonymous letter comes in after this, and I thought it was appropriate to pass the anonymous letter to this working group to have a look at, to see if there's any justification, any of those comments that they could build on it, to make recommendations to me when they report back.
Is that usual? Because I understand anonymous letters you don't want to know about. I mean, not just you, other ministers go, well, we get this all the time.
Yeah, it's one of those no-win situations, really. When anonymous letters contain quite detailed information from obviously somebody from within the organisation, I think it's worth investigating them and by an independent group and coming back to me and say, yes, there's justification in this, there's justification in that, not in this, not in that, and make recommendations to me. So it seems appropriate to send that to them at the same time because they were looking at the recommendations of the Francis report.
And at this time, this was not in the public domain. I mean, this has come through the social media more than anything, hasn't it? It's been bubbling along, but it didn't really hit the media until very recently. So this is February, and you've got your working party looking at this letter.
My working party has only been set up and is only just meeting now, but the working party was set up before the anonymous letter came in, yes.
And were you worried with the contents of that letter? I mean, you must have had a thought.
No, I wasn't worried about it because and I've had anonymous letters from probably the same source before, who maybe thought now was the opportunity to raise things again, because whatever you do in the health service, whichever changes you make, you're never going to satisfy everybody in every issue.
Where are you going? I mean, I'm trying to give them a timeline. Where are we up to now then? I mean,
well, the working party, I understand, it's independent of me, will start their series of meetings next week, and it'll be up to the chairman, Mr. Coleman, to report back with the recommendations as soon as is practically possible. And when that will be, I'm not sure. I would suspect it would be a period of months rather than weeks.
Taking into account that mistake in Hansard, Liberal Vannon are definitely on your case on this one. They made other scenarios about the air ambulance and those sort of things, and what the management saying one thing, a report that you had done only recently said another thing. Those allegations about the air ambulance are quite unfounded. We've had reports back saying that our air ambulance service is exemplary and being used
by, in fact, other organisations outside the island to look at what we do and how we do it. It's very unfortunate because a lot of people do throughout the year travel on our air ambulance. I think it's an excellent service and something we'd be very proud of. Certain individuals might have different interpretations on that. They're entitled to their views, but as far as I'm concerned, independent other people have said that it's fit for purpose and it's working well.
But you'd have a review, External in Cheshire, was it involved in it? They did have some comments about it, didn't they?
Whenever you have a review of a service, you always ask them to see what improvements you can make to a service. You know, every service within every hospital it can do better in certain areas. I'm not saying we can't, and that's why we constantly review our service to see if we can improve.
You just said, though, other people are looking at how wonderful it was in the sense, and then you've got this report that does say there are problems with it.
No, it didn't say it was problems.
Tweaking?
What they're saying, we can improve in certain specific parts of it. Yeah. But the service itself is a first-class service, and the report recognised that.
And is this where we are today, then? We're up to date. I mean, what's going to come out next?
Well, I understand the Liberal Vannon parties are putting a tyndall motion down, asking for an independent audit of Nobles Hospital. I've already indicated that we're going to do that of the health service. I've already indicated in questions and answers I've given that we're doing that, and we're down to, I think, a short list of 2 now to look in who can do that. Obviously, we're going to have to find the money to do that, which won't be cheap. But I'm sure it'll satisfy everybody that we're doing it, and I've given that commitment. So it's actually trying to say something that we're already doing.
Okay, we've got a few more questions. We'll have one more section on this.